I'm sorry about it. So I hope you can still see my screen and hear me well. Yes,
Yes,
Dr. Young?
yes,
Perfect.
yes, yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So today I'm presenting this joint work that was developed with my supervisors in Brazil and Portugal, and also Professor Gizo Parchahalate from Georgia. It's about developing a system dynamics energy systems model for Georgia, the country. So Georgia, maybe you know where it is located. It's basically the neighbor of Russia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Turkey, and also on the east coast you have the Black Sea, the west coast, sorry. The population of the country, I'm sorry, Dr. Young, there is I think someone is unmuted.
Okay, let me check.
Uh, okay, thank you. And the population of the country is about 3.7 million people, so it's a relatively small country. It is a former republic of the Soviet Union. It got its independence in 1991, and that independence period was followed by socioeconomic hardship in the 90s and the 2000s. So for us, it was a relevant case study because I had this great opportunity to stay there for 4 months earlier this year, but also because of its geographical location and geopolitical issues in a way. The fact that it has a high external gas dependency, oil and oil products, and its renewable energy potential is also high. As a developing country, it has currently like rising emissions and a significant electricity import dependence as well. So these were the main reasons why we selected Georgia as our case study, of course, because of our colleagues there. Here you can see pictures of the Nguri Dam, which is one of the highest arc dams in the world. It provides around 40 to 46% of Georgia's total electricity supply, so it's very relevant for the country. It has installed capacity of about 1,300 megawatt. So one of the problematics in which Nguri Dam is involved is that its cascade output is actually located in Abkhazia, which is one of the temporarily occupied regions of Georgia. The second one would be South Ossetia. So in relation to the total energy supply and a little more information about the country's background and context, you can see that about half of its total energy supply, TES, comes from natural gas, 1/4 from oil and oil products. However, if you look at the domestic energy production, you can see that more than 70% is basically hydro, and there is none to little gas and oil production. So this points, of course, to a high import dependency in relation to fossil fuels, but it also highlights, and something maybe we have the time to discuss later, the fact that the country could become a high exporter of electricity due to hydro. So I just brought a few pictures actually from my time there. We often look at numbers and charts when we are trying to understand or recognize a case study. But I'd like to highlight that Georgia is a very culturally rich country. It has a lot of history, of course. It may be considered one of the cradles of civilization as well. It has many stray dogs or street dogs, as you can see here on the right. It was one of my companionships, in my time there. But it's also home to a lot of inequality in one sense. You have like most of the population based in Tbilisi. Then you have like those large buildings in Batumi as well, which is the third largest the city of the country. But at the same time, if you go to rural regions and certain parts of the same cities, you see a lot of like old infrastructure and decaying infrastructure as well. And the same applies for for the energy infrastructure of the country. So in terms of the methods we employed, of course, everything began with data collection. So we collected a lot of secondary data from government statistics, reports, peer-reviewed literature. Then we developed a system dynamics model structure based primarily on previous works that were already developed by Alsina, by Lehman and co-authors. And that model was then calibrated to the case of Georgia with the data we had available. This calibration and validation process and employed like the comparison of historical data and model results, as well as like a visual comparison, behavior comparison, extreme test analysis, and tails statistics. Then we took that model that was calibrated and validated as best as we could, and we simulated several scenarios following a what-if analysis. So here you have a high-level structure of the model, a few of the exogenous inputs we required, and the outputs. Mainly it has like 8 modules and one control panel. These modules refer to electricity demand, transport, electricity generating capacity, production, renewable energy resources availability, new capacity investment, heating, and emissions as well. Was built in Bensing software. So here's, I'm sorry, this is not a great image, but it's just to give you a hint of how the model looks like in terms of structure. For the electricity generating module, we followed an aging chain, but also trying to implement a discrete formulation in which the investment in new generating capacity was based on a minimum power plant size for different technologies, and also the time of the last investment based on a gap between the current availability and the future demand. So this was done for like a total of 6 technologies. So I have thermal power plants representing gas-fired power plants, hydro divided into hydro reservoir, hydro river, and hydro small, which is installed capacity smaller than 15 megawatt, as well as wind and solar. So these are the scenarios modeled. We have modeled 4 scenarios so far. The first one is business as usual, employing the International Energy Agency stated policies and projections for technology costs. Then we have a gas supply instability scenario in which the price of the gas almost like increases by fourfold. Then one scenario where we consider a huge uptake of electric vehicles, reaching about, if I'm not mistaken, 100% EV sales in 2050, which is of course unrealistic for Georgia's scenario, if you know a little bit of the culture and the situation of the country, and the combination of these same scenarios. So in terms of results, I'll just show a summary of it in terms of the installed capacity. Here you have the installed capacity per technology across these 4 scenarios. And in general terms, we can see that renewable energy capacity increases due mainly to the reduction in the technological costs. We also have like a sustained contribution of thermal power plants because of their contribution to the power grid stability. The reduction refers to the decommissioning of the same thermal power plants. On the other hand, hydro reservoir, although the country has like a huge potential, about, if I'm not mistaken, 11 terawatt could be installed in hydro. There are some difficulties as I will discuss in relation to the opposition to the development of these projects and also the investment that is required. On the other hand, small hydro increases considerably, which is the light blue area, while river hydro remains relatively stable as well across the scenarios. Overall, the total installed capacity, of course, increases, and it almost doubles if we consider 2020 and 2050. So in conclusion, we could understand that these long-term simulations, they show that We will need further investment if we are to meet the demand, but also to generate exports. There is a surplus during summer because of the huge contribution of hydropower in the country. Georgia has also the opportunity to develop its renewable energy potential through wind, solar, and hydro, more specifically small hydro. In terms of the TPP, thermal power plants, they will continue to play a role in grid stabilization. Emission intensity, on the other hand, will probably be reduced due to efficiency improvements in certain technologies, more specifically gas-fired power plants. And a strong uptake of EVs, although unrealistic in Georgia's case, could halve car emissions by 2050. Additionally, I'd just like to highlight several, I would say, key challenges and issues when it comes to energy security in the country. There are, of course, the geopolitical issues, such as the one I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation. The fact that Nguri and Varnili, which are part of the same cascade output, they are currently in Abkhazia. So this means that at any moment, basically that whole cascade output could be shut down. Of course, it's a very complex issue. In terms of infrastructure, as I mentioned, a large portion of the energy infrastructure, the power transmission lines, the generation capacity needs to be updated, refurbished. In terms of investment, there are several risks, especially because of the position of Georgia, the geopolitical position of Georgia, close to Russia, in the fact that that represents a certain, I would say, does not motivate a lot of foreign investment in the country. So people I got some information about some projects that basically they are waiting to see what will happen in terms of this Russia, EU, larger geopolitical situation we currently have. And also in terms of environmental impacts, there are currently a few projects to further develop hydropower in the country. But as I mentioned, there are several environmental and social impacts that must be considered if these projects are to be developed. So I thank you for your attention, and I leave you with the sunset in Batumi, and also a photo of hiking I did, and some turturala, which is the characteristic food of Georgia. Here's my email if you'd like to give feedback or ask any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It means next time